In this week's Torah portion, we speak about the story of the Meraglim. The Jewish people find themselves in the desert, and Hashem tells them and tells Moshe, you've spent enough time in the desert. It's your time to go into the land you were meant to inherit, to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael. So Moshe comes up with a plan. He says, I'm going to handpick the best of the 12 Shvatim as spies to send them into the land of Eretz Yisrael, to spy on the land, and to see the best way to enter. The spies, the Meraglim, enter the land of Eretz Yisrael. They come back with terrible news. They tell the Jewish people, you do not want to enter that land because those people that are in the land right now are giants. They're bigger than you, stronger than you. There's no way that we can conquer that land, to the extent that they said that even God cannot save us. So the obvious question is, the Jewish people just went through the biggest miracles of their lives. They just came out of the 10 Makkahs. They just came out of leaving Mitzrayim. They just came out of the miracle of the Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea. And in the desert itself, you had the miracle of the Ananei HaKavod. You had the miracle of the clouds following them. The miracle of the man when they were hungry, they had no food. You had food raining from the skies. And they had the miracle of the water. They had the Be'er Shel Miriam, the well of Miriam. And so how can they say that God won't save us? They just experienced the biggest miracles in Jewish history. And yet they say, God cannot save us from these giants, from these regular people living in the lands of Eretz Yisrael. How is this possible? The answer was as follows. The Jewish people were in the Dvar. The Dvar was a desert where they had no gashmis, no physicality, to the extent that even their food and their drink were spiritual food and drink. The man that rained from the Shemayim, the food that rained from the skies, and the water that was miraculously coming out of the Be'er Shel Miriam were all spiritual food and drink. And even their clothing itself, it says that their clothing didn't tear and their clothing grew with them. And so they even had spiritual clothing. And so they were not used to any physicality, no gashmis. And so they thought that if we go into the land of Eretz Yisrael, where we have to get involved in gashmis, we have to get involved in physicality, we have to work the fields, we have to work for our food. No food is miraculously going to be falling from the skies. We have to work for our drink, we have to work for our clothing, we have to plant the fields, raise the animals, raise the crops. They said that God is not involved in such an area. God is not involved in such an area where gashmias is so relevant, where gashmias is needed, where physicality is needed, where physicality is relevant. And so they said even God can't save us. And this entire thought process from the Meraglim, from the spies, are totally wrong. Because the mission in this world is not to separate yourself from physicality. The mission in this world is to involve yourself in physicality, to involve yourself in gashmias, and turn the gashmias and turn the physicality into ruchnias, into spirituality. And this is what it means to make a dir b'tachtonim, to make this world a dwelling place for God. And that was the mission of the Jewish people, and that is still the mission of the Jewish people. So what's the Torah? What can we learn from all this? In today's day and age, where physicality, where gashmias is needed, and we have to get a job, we have to work, you may think that our Jewish life and our mundane life should be two separate, different lives. In truth, this was the thought process of the Meraglim, that we should not be involved in gashmis, we should not be involved in physicality, and our Jewish life is a totally separate life than our mundane life. But what is the true answer? What is the true mission of this world? To take our Jewish life and involve it into our mundane life, to make our mundane life, to make our work, to make our job into a Jewish type of job, into a Jewish type of work, by uplifting your surroundings, uplifting your job, turning the physicality into spirituality, and making this place a dwelling place for God, a dir b'tachtonim. And through this, through us making our mundane lives and our physical lives into a spiritual life and making a dwelling place for God, may we merit the coming of Mashiach. May he come speedily right now. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.